Hey guys, welcome to the Homegrown Hopes podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Etheridge, and I am excited to be joining you here today. We are at the beginning of summer and just a few weeks into kind of finding our new routine a little bit. And we do homeschool, so I'm sure our summer is a lot different from other people's summer. You know, I work from home and we have a little bit of a different situation, but summer can still be a season when things just get out of control. And if you caught last week's episode, then you heard me talk about how we're kind of already in a really busy season of life with, you know, we've had sports and all that. That's kind of dying down now. And we still have instruments and we're building a house and running a business and all the things. So still plenty going on. And we do some homeschool throughout the summer. I know my children don't like to hear that, but very minimal just to stay fresh, because if we do nothing all summer long, when we come back at the end of the summer, it will be like we've never seen a book before. Not really, but I find that if we just incorporate a few little lessons throughout the week, it makes life easier all the way around. So our summer rhythm will be a little bit different. Every family's is a little different, but today I wanted to talk to you about making summer not chaos, making it fun and not chaotic, and not being so structured that you can't break loose and have fun, but also not being so, I don't know, just wild and free that there's no organization, no order, and everybody's up all hours of the night and there's junk food everywhere.
If you've felt the pull to slow down, to create and cultivate a more homegrown life that's simple and fulfilling, and to truly enjoy the magic of ordinary days, then friend, you found your place. I'm Caitlin. I'm a barefoot, Blue Ridge, homegrown mama, and this is the Homegrown Hopes podcast. We'll chat about everything from gardening and scratch cooking to homeschooling and motherhood. With some sarcasm sprinkled in, of course, because I am my daddy's daughter and Lord knows I'm fluent in that. Just know that whatever it is we're discussing, I am by no means an expert, and I'll never claim to be. I'm just sharing my experiences, the good and the bad, and making the most of the little moments in between. I'm so excited you're here, and so humbled that you've chosen to follow along and hopefully join me in cultivating our homegrown hopes.
Speaking from experience here. So I kind of sat down because, like I said, in every episode, this is me talking to myself. So I kind of sat down and was just fleshing this idea out. And I actually sat down with the kids this morning. So during the school year, each kid has a daily list. And for my youngest, it's things like morning chores, you know, brush your teeth, get dressed, brush your hair, make your bed. She's 5. So she has just little things like that. My son has a more extensive list. His includes his, you know, daily routines. Brush your teeth is still on there, and I can't remember if I said he's 10. So make your bed, brush your teeth, put on deodorant, take care of the animals. He likes to feed the animals in the morning and be responsible for them because he likes to get outside. That's really important to him first thing in the morning. And as she gets older, it's becoming an important part of my daughter's like daily rhythm too. She really likes to get outside first thing in the morning. So we sat down today and we talked about what that list is going to look like during the summer. So during the school year, for my son at least, I haven't done this much with my daughter. This coming year I probably will, because she'll be a more independent reader. But my son can read at 10. And so he has on his list things like he has his little devotional time every morning. He does his instrument practice. He plays fiddle. He has a Spanish lesson on, so I have it broken down like days of the week. So like on Monday, he does Spanish and cursive and free reading. On Tuesday, he has typing and free reading. Every day is fiddle practice. So he just has like a checklist of independent things that he can do. And it's become really nice because he appreciates that structure And it's nice for me because I know he's not going to ask me, can I go do this, until the things on that list are done. So we sat down this morning and kind of just restructured that list for summer. So his list doesn't really have the Spanish and cursive lessons on it. That's something that we're not going to do formally throughout the summer, but like when he does his journaling time, he likes to write in a little journal. And so a couple days a week, I'll just say, hey, why don't you write that in cursive and just practice that a little bit. So there won't be really formal school lessons on there, but we did add in other things. Like he really likes to weed eat around the farm, so he's got once a week weed eating because he's going to do it anyway, but it makes him feel good to check it off a list. I think he got that sickness from me. I'm one of those people that I will write something on a list after I've done it just to check it off and have that satisfaction. So he's got that on his list. I also added things like help someone or do something kind for someone, I think is how I worded it. So trying to make it a habit. He is very helpful and he is a hard worker, but I'm just trying to instill a habit of what can I do for someone else, because I think for any children, not just throwing my own under the bus, but when you have so much, it's easy to just think about what I want, especially in the summertime. Can we go to the pool? Can I have a popsicle? Can we do this? Can I do that? And so just adding it on there to think outside of the box, or to actually think, what can I do for someone else? How can I offer my help to someone else? We're going to try that. So we'll see how this all works out. Excuse me. What else did we put on the list? I'm trying to think. He's still got his free reading. That's something we're really going to do more reading this summer. And he doesn't love to read, so I'm trying to come up with creative ways to do that. We've got some books that he really likes. We're also going to be looking into every library has a summer reading program, and he really likes the competition factor of things. So I'm thinking that might be something that we incorporate. So anyway, we've created a bit of a new rhythm. We're not getting up as early in the mornings. And when we do get up, we're going typically not that our mornings were rushed. We value a slow morning around here. But we were getting up a little bit earlier, having breakfast, jumping right into our lessons. And now, the last couple of weeks, we've just kind of had slow mornings. The kids are kind of sleeping into whenever they want, which is not super late, but sleeping in because they're staying up later. And we've been going out on the porch in the morning and just kind of doing a little reading out there. I like to do my Bible study, and they've started coming out and bringing their little books or their instruments first thing in the morning. So just some relaxed time before we jump into breakfast and what we're doing that day. And then also we are kind of taking the summer, since we don't have such a full schedule, at least not right now. Next week and a couple weeks after that's going to be kind of hectic, but we're trying to keep the summer a little bit simple. So we're trying to do new things, and not necessarily like big trips or anything like that. But we did sit down and make like a summer bucket list, and it wasn't anything crazy. We just talked about like, what would you want to do? Of course, movie night with popcorn was on there. And so we'll plan to do that a couple times and make it a big deal. Like we're going to pick out this movie for Friday night. The kids are going to make tickets. We want to do it on the outdoor projector, have good snacks and popcorn and cozy up. And so like make it an ordeal, but it's here at the house. So it's not something that we have to go out for, and don't have to put on real pants. What was something else on our bucket list? Let's see. Oh, my daughter said, I swear, there's no denying this child is mine. She wants to get up in the mornings and drink coffee on the back deck while she listens to the birds sing. Oh, me too, girl. So we just kind of went through. They want to go to swim in a swimming hole, like at a waterfall. We live in Western North Carolina, so we're really close to a lot of really good trails and waterfalls and swimming holes and things like that. So they want to get out and do that more. So yeah, we took some time, made our bucket list, and now we're trying to just pick. It's really easy to let the day get away from you if there's not structure. So we're trying to pick like one thing a week that's going to be our new thing that we do, or our special thing that we do. And throughout the day, one way that I'm kind of cutting down on losing my mind is that we're limiting screen time because we go through spells, where it's just easy, especially like in the dead heat of the summer when it's about too miserable to go outside. It's easy to just veg out in front of the TV if it's an option. And I find that, like most people find the same thing, the more screen time, there's a direct correlation for my children between screen time and behaviors. If they are allowed to, veg out in front of the TV, it ends in just attitudes and whininess, and it's more than I want to deal with. So, it's better for everyone if we limit the screen time. So it's not like there's no TV allowed. Like they're watching TV right now while I record this. And we just kind of cut down on it. And they know that it's minimal. And I think that if there's a really clear expectation set, then they're less likely to bug me on it and whine about it. So we limit screen time just because it limits behaviors also. But we also make sure that there's time throughout the day, and limiting the screen time helps with this. There's time throughout the day for imaginative play, and they have the resources to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going out and buying new toys all the time, because I feel like you can be overstimulating as well. But we make sure that they have plenty of time to play outside, play inside. They've got little things like there are certain toys that are great for everything in every season, like Magnetiles, Play-Doh, kinetic sand. Those are always a hit. And that's only if it's like super, super hot. But if it's pretty weather, they are outside and they're making forts and playing in the treehouse and swinging and, playing with the animals, riding the horses. They really like being outside. And I find that if we just kind of let them have the space to use their imaginations, it's so much fun to hear the games that they come up with, or the inventions. They're all the time inventing something or building something. You've heard us say my family has a reclaimed wood business. There's always scraps laying around. And the things that they come up with and the messes that they make, let me just tell you. But it's really fun just to see how creative they can be and to give them the time to do that. And if they know that the TV is not an option, they are much more likely to use their imaginations and come up with something interesting. So another way that we kind of combat the summer chaos is by getting the kids involved. And this isn't just a summer thing. This is something that's true for us all year long. We take our kids along with us and we involve them in what we're doing. I mentioned the family business. They are super involved in that. They go to markets with me. They help me prep all the materials. They label things and tag things and cut out things that we've printed. So they are super involved in that process. And throughout the summer, when we're not spending as much time on school, it's really great to involve them in other things or to decide to learn a new skill over the summer. So last year, gosh, what was it? My son came up with something. It's totally not going to come to me right now. We try to come up with like one new thing over the summer that you want to learn. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what his was. Anyway, for my daughter last year, she wanted to tie her shoe. She wanted to learn to tie her shoe. That was her goal for the summer. And she picked up on it really quickly, and that was her big accomplishment. So it's a great idea to pick one new skill, whether it's, whittling or learning to swim or tying your shoe. It's great to kind of pick one thing and put some focus on that since you have a little extra time with them throughout the summer. Also really like to get them involved in the kitchen, cooking. I don't think it's ever too young to start your children learning how to cook. It's such an important life skill. My daughter loves to bake. I know you've heard me mention that. She loves to be helping in the kitchen in any way that she can. And my son does, but not as much as she does. So as he gets older, that's one of those things where it's fun to let him look through a cookbook and figure out what meal he wants to cook. And then we source the ingredients, or we pick a recipe based on ingredients that we already have, or we look through the pantry and say, okay, what can we create with these ingredients? What can we do with what we have on hand? And he really likes using his imagination in that way. So, get them involved in cooking, and you can make it as in-depth as you want. When you put them in charge of cooking a meal, it can be really educational. You can talk about making healthy choices and making healthy snacks and making things from scratch. And it's so much fun. And they never stop eating. So it's one of those things where if you can give them a little bit of the responsibility, it's a beautiful thing. So even if it's just making your 5-year-old in charge of snacks and having snacks in the house that are easy for them to prepare. We do a lot of snack trays on my charcuterie boards. And it's things like, a sliced fruit and some cheese and meat and crackers and some kind of dip. And that's just stuff that we typically have in our refrigerator. And at this point, my 5-year-old can whip up a snack tray all by herself, and it is fantastic. So putting them in charge, giving them a little bit of the responsibility in that can be really empowering for them, and also take a little bit of the pressure off of mom for having to figure out what they can eat for the 800th time today. Okay, another thing that we like to do in the off season of school, summertime, is get organized. I feel like it's so easy when you're rushing from one activity to the next all year long for your life to just get out of whack, out of rhythm. You've got clothes that don't fit, shoes that are 2 sizes too small. Actually get them together and take them to donate. Or maybe if you're like me, you've already got them together and you've been driving them around for a few weeks. Take them. Take that and get it off of your mind. Don't think about it again. And this is another way that I get the kids involved. About once every season, we'll pull out all the drawers and all the clothes and go through. And if they haven't worn something, I'm like, do you really like that? And often it's, well, I don't like how it fits, blah, blah. Get rid of it then. It does not need to take up space if you're not going to pick that when you go in the closet. So really get organized. Go through your car and put some systems in place. Like, I got a new to me car in the last few months, and I really went in there and got like a duster so that when the dash is all dusty, I can just pull it out of the glove box and I'm ready to go. I've got wipes in there, and we've got a little trash can in the back and a tote in the trunk that I can carry all of the stuff that gets accumulated in the car, put it in that trunk and carry it in the house and put it away, or in that tote rather. So really just do simple things. Maybe this week we're going to get the car right. We're going to get organized. What are your suggestions? Do you want to put, like we have in the back seat, a little craft caddy? So there's a couple coloring books and a little thing of colored pencils so that it's not crayons that will melt in the car. And just little car games, simple things, some extra hair ties for my daughter, some hand wipes, tissues, things like that. And the kids help me stock that. And they really liked going to the dollar store and picking out a few things to make that special. So that was, just one way that we got organized recently that came to mind. But once again, get them involved. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? I think I've just about covered everything. So I'm going to go down through it again and just kind of touch on each one. No specific order here. This is just as I was hashing this out for myself, this is what I have on the list. So create a new rhythm. Rhythms change every season for us anyway. Really evaluate what is important to you during the summer. Put the big things in, if you have certain obligations, obviously add those to the list, but just create a new rhythm. Maybe it's sleeping in a little bit later and staying up a little bit later. Figure out what works for you. We also limit screen time, which makes room for imagination play. We really try to get the kids outside and let them use their brains and entertain themselves a little bit. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you know what? It's okay. You can be bored for a little while. It is not my job to entertain you 24/7. Now that sounds a little harsh, but after I've, done it all day, at some point, just entertain yourself for a few minutes. It will be okay. And 9 times out of 10, they just turn around and figure out what they're going to play with, create some game among themselves, ride their bikes, whatever. But I just feel like oftentimes there's an extreme of we have to have them stimulated and entertained all the time. And I'm just not about that. They're going to have to use their imaginations a little bit and entertain yourself because I can't do it all day. So give them space to actually use their imaginations and get creative. One way I wrote this down, have a mud kitchen. I said, all of the things that are so fun to play with. Have a mud kitchen. Get some cheap dollar store pots and pans, and pick a spot of your yard that you don't mind sacrificing and let them just play in the mud. They will entertain themselves for hours. Maybe pick like one set of mud kitchen clothes because they are going to get ruined. But I don't know any children that don't just love a big mud hole, and it will entertain them for hours. Trust me. So let your children make a mud hole. There is my sage advice for surviving summer. Find water. That's on my list. I mentioned, we want to go to some swimming holes and things like that. I don't think there's any better way to spend a summer day than by the water. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I think I'm really bad at overcomplicating it and packing, 5 bags in the kitchen sink. And when I went from 1 child to 2, that's when that switched for me. I have it consolidated down to like 1 backpack cooler and a chair that clips on there, and you're going to carry your own towel. And it's just very simple so that it's not such an ordeal that I don't make it happen. So find some water and simplify what you pack to the water. In the heat of the day, if we're not by the water, that's a really great time to pile up and just have like a chill hour of reading. It doesn't have to be TV time. Reading, doing a little family read aloud, doing crossword puzzles or real puzzles. Come July and August, I'm not going to want to be outside at 3:00 in the afternoon. It's about too miserable to do anything. So in the heat of the day is when we try to come in and do some school lessons or reading or fun things like that. Fun things like that. That's not probably what my children would call school. Let's see. Get the kids involved. Learn a new skill, learn to cook, put them in charge of snack time, give them some, that brings up another good point that I have listed here and I totally skipped. Give them responsibility. My son and my daughter both, they really like to have a job. They really, really like to be involved and feel like they are contributing and what they're doing really matters. So really get them involved and say, okay, this week you're in charge of this room. You have to keep this room tidy. You can put other people's things in a pile and say, hey, this has to be put away, but this room is yours, or this task is yours. And I think that they really thrive on being given some responsibility. Let's see, get organized. It's a great time to get organized. Create new systems so that you're not crazy. I cannot function very well if things are total mess around me. So getting organized and keeping things in order is super important to me. So that's why it made the list. Let's see. Okay, I mentioned it's a great time to create new habits, especially for kids. When you have more time, and for adults too, maybe this is the season where you get up in the morning and you do a little YouTube workout together, everybody in the family. Or you get up in the morning and you sit around with a cup of coffee, or the kids, hot chocolate, whatever they like, chocolate milk, and you do your family Bible time. And I have some really great suggestions for the family Bible curriculum that we've used and the devotionals that I've used, and I'll link those in the show notes. But it might be a great time to create that new habit, actually slowing down and spending time reading the Word together. Take some time to serve someone else. I mentioned that I put that on my son's list. It's on my list too. So maybe involve your kids if you're going to do some sort of community service or serve some group in your community or a family in need. Figure out someone, or maybe it's your family. Maybe there's someone in your family that you could spend some time loving on or taking care of or doing some sort of act of service for them. Get the kids involved. That was the next thing on the list. Get them involved in everything. Take them along with you. Don't just shoo them off like I mentioned that I do sometimes when I said, no, I'm not going to entertain you. I don't do that all the time, I swear. I do get them involved. They are along for most of the things. So get them involved. And then this kind of relates back to the last episode when I was talking about being so, so busy. And my quote of the episode was, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy, by Corrie ten Boom. The last point that I will make of today's episode is, don't fill every minute. Don't feel like you have to have some big, extravagant outing every week. I mentioned one of our big fun things is that we're going to do a movie night out on the back deck. We're not going anywhere. Don't feel like you have to plan a different trip or adventure every week. Sometimes it's just as simple as sitting out on the porch every night and watching the kids catch fireflies and just slowing down. So don't feel like just because I'm giving all of these suggestions of cook with your kids and build a mud kitchen and go to a waterfall, like there's a lot of time in the summer. Don't feel like I'm cramming every minute full because, as mentioned in the last episode, this is the season when I'm trying to slow down a little bit, trying to do a reset, trying to reconnect with the kids, reconnect with the things that are important in this season of life. So don't fill every minute because I feel like when you do, it almost, and maybe this is just me, I do enjoy being busy and on the go. I guess busy is not the right word. I enjoy having things to do, but I really appreciate the season when you can slow down and be more intentional with your time. So that's just what's working for us in this season. So I hope that maybe this has spoken to you. I had a couple of friends reach out after last week's episode and say, man, this is just what I need to hear. We've been in a busy season and it's so easy to just keep going at that pace and not slow down and appreciate where we're at or really take the time to connect. So hopefully just by sharing these ideas, it will maybe help you to maintain your sanity throughout the summer, because I think the summer is such a fun and special time. It always breaks my heart when I hear parents say, man, I can't wait till the kids go back to school. And obviously I'm like the furthest end of the spectrum of I want my kids with me all the time. But it just breaks my heart when I hear parents say that, because it can be really hard. And I understand a little bit where they're coming from, because I feel like it can be just an added stressor, but it doesn't have to be that way. So anyway, here's to summer. Here's to making the most of it. I think that it can be a really special time. And just like anything, if you take a little extra time on the front end maybe and figure out what you want to get out of it, what you want it to look like, if you're a little bit, take a little bit of time just to kind of not structure it, but just plan it out a little bit and figure out exactly how you want your summer to look and then make that happen. It can be a really, really fun time. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful summer, and I'll talk to you all throughout the summer. But I will be back next Tuesday, and yeah, I would love to hear, by the way, I'm going to do a shameless plug. We're on Instagram. Homegrown Hopes is on Instagram. You can follow along. It's homegrown_hopes. I think I should know that. Let's see. Instagram. No, I do not. No, it's just Homegrown Hopes. One word. Oops. Homegrown Hopes on Instagram if you want to follow along and maybe share what are some things on your summer bucket list. I would love to hear that, because I'm always looking for new fun things that we want to do. So we asked the kids this morning, it might be a fun thing to hear what your kids' summer bucket list ideas are, because my daughter was like a 60-year-old woman. I just want to sit on the porch and drink my coffee and hear the birds chirp. Oh, it's so funny. So anyway, follow along on Instagram, share what your kids or your summer bucket list plans are, and I'll talk to you next week.